3 on Xbox Series X in 2023? How is it that this 15-year-old game looks so good? In this video, I'll tell you why. I'll go through all the improvements made to Fallout 3 since its release on the Xbox 360. I'll quickly show you how to ensure your console is set up to make Fallout 3 look its best, and we'll end up with some good old-fashioned comparison videos. Fallout 3 was released on the Xbox 360 in 2008. It's still an amazing game. I have played many hours of it. For a large chunk of those hours, I was playing the 360 version on my Xbox Series X console for a complete playthrough that I did last year. Fallout 3 never did receive a remaster or high-definition re-release. The Xbox 360 version is the only version playable on Microsoft's consoles. However, Fallout 3 does benefit from 3 distinct improvements, each related to console generations, that have turned it into a good-looking and really smooth-playing game on the Xbox Series consoles today. Before any improvements, the original Xbox 360 version of Fallout 3 ran at 720p with anti-aliasing, apparently, according to Wikipedia at least. Fun fact, Bethesda's previous game on that console, The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, ran at 600p, but it also benefits from all the improvements I'm about to outline. Back to Fallout 3. When played on the 360, Fallout's frame rate could best be described as low and varied. It only appeared to approach 30 FPS on a good day. Frame pacing was also varied, and there was regular screen tearing. It was very noticeable. That was the base game, but the first improvement came about in 2015 when Fallout 3 became playable on the Xbox One console. It was included with a batch of other 360 games that were made backwards compatible with the Xbox One. This backwards compatible mode was known to produce some good and some bad results for older games, depending on the game. For Fallout 3, the result was a game that looked graphically identical on the Xbox One and the 360, but there was a performance improvement reported when run on the Xbox One in backwards compatibility mode. VSync was enabled to remove screen tearing, and there was a more consistent frame rate reported, resulting in a smoother gameplay overall. The improved performance was likely a result of the Xbox One's increased horsepower compared to the previous console. Since Fallout 3 was made by Bethesda, and since Bethesda is now owned by Microsoft, it is perhaps not surprising to hear Fallout 3 is available on Xbox GamePass as a digital download. However, in case you have Fallout 3 on disc, I'll just mention that to play the disc version of the game on your Xbox One or Series console, you do need to insert the disc, obviously. Your console then checks the disc, but it will download the entire game from the Microsoft servers. It won't actually install anything from the disc. So in effect, the disc just becomes proof that you have a copy of the game. But this means the disc needs to be in the console every time you go to play. In conclusion, if you have the game on disc and you have Game Pass, I recommend just installing the Game Pass version, as they're identical versions of the game, but with Game Pass no discs are required, and save games are definitely compatible between the two. In fact, collecting footage for this video was made easier as my Xbox 360, my Xbox One X, and my Xbox Series X consoles could all use exactly the same game saves, as I was sharing them as cloud saves. Not so for my PC version though, unfortunately, but 3 out of 4 ain't bad. So, the first improvement to Fallout 3 on Xbox consoles was backwards compatibility, as I've just mentioned, which smoothed out the game performance without touching graphics. The second improvement came about after the Xbox One X console was released at the end of 2017. Fallout 3, along with a bunch of other games, received an Xbox One X enhanced patch, which allowed the game to take full advantage of the additional power offered by the Xbox One X console. The Fallout 3 enhanced patch focused on graphics quality. It allowed for an increased draw distance and anisotropic filtering of distant textures. Video output resolution was also increased, but it is not actually listed as being at 4K on the Microsoft Xbox One X website, unlike some other Xbox One X enhanced games. Finally, texture quality did look noticeably better, as can be seen by these shots. The improvement is striking and likely more than can be explained by just the anisotropic filtering. It is interesting as the enhancement patch did not include any new textures. So how could this be? Well, it is known that the enhancement patch did not modify the game code as such, but just how the game code was implemented on the new hardware. It seems the Xbox One X enhanced patch for Fallout 3 allowed the game to increase the distance from the camera that it drew high resolution textures. So when played on the 360 console, the highest resolution textures would have been displayed on objects really close to the player, where you would have noticed it the most, and texture quality was then scaled back the further the texture was away from your point of view. This technique is quite common in games as a way to optimize video RAM and graphics processing power, but due to the additional power and memory of the Xbox One X, Fallout 3 was able to use its highest quality textures much more often when rendering a scene, and it showed. For those of you with an Xbox One X or Xbox Series console, the Xbox One X enhancements can be toggled on or off and should be enabled by default. But this is how you can check. With Fallout 3 running on your console, press both the view and the menu button on the controller at the same time. These were once known as the back and start buttons for long-time gamers out there. The Xbox 360 menu will then appear. Go to the right and you'll see an Xbox One X settings option. Select that and we can see two options. The graphics option turns on the Xbox One X enhancements. It should be set to this by default. Choose the performance mode to remove all the Xbox One X enhancements, though the baseline compatibility enhancements will still be present. This reverts the game to run in straight Xbox One backwards compatibility mode as described earlier. Not sure why you'd want to do this unless, like me, you want to compare graphics modes, which can be quite fun. Fun fact, the Xbox 360 version of Fallout New Vegas, which uses fundamentally the same game engine as Fallout 3, did not receive an Xbox One X enhanced patch, and its graphics suffer in comparison to Fallout 3. I am very conscious of this, as I am currently doing a playthrough of Fallout New Vegas on my Xbox Series X. Hey, if you're a New Vegas fan, check out these short videos I've made over the last couple of weeks on the most fun weapons I've found in New Vegas and the funniest mission I've come across so far. So, with the Xbox One X enhanced patch, Fallout 3 was much improved over its initial release, with enhanced visual quality, but with one caveat: the game was still running at 30 frames a second. So, the final improvement to Fallout 3 is available to those of you with either Xbox Series console. Both consoles have an FPS Boost feature, which can be enabled for many older games, including our beloved Fallout 3. With FPS Boost enabled, Fallout 3 jumps from 30 to 60 frames a second maximum on both consoles, whilst also taking advantage of the graphics enhancements the previous enhanced patch brought about. The frame rate improvement on the Series X is very noticeable when played, and hopefully will be reflected here in the videos. FPS Boost should be on by default for Fallout 3, though this is not true for all FPS Boost games. And here is how to check that. Press the menu button when over the Fallout 3 icon, select Manage and Game Add-ons to bring up the screen. So, Fallout 3 benefited from smoother performance thanks to backwards compatibility on Xbox One, improved graphics quality thanks to the enhancement patch on Xbox One X, and frame rate improvement thanks to FPS Boost on the Xbox Series consoles. By my count, there's actually only about a dozen Xbox 360 games that benefit from all these improvements. Besides Fallout 3, other games that benefit include Gears of War 2 and 3, Final Fantasy 13-2, Sonic Generations, Mirror's Edge, which will actually play up to 120 frames a second if you have a TV or monitor that supports that refresh rate, and, as mentioned, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. So, they were 360 games, but there is also about 30 Xbox One games that benefit from both 1X enhancement and FPS Boost. These include Gears of War 4, Titanfall 2, which will actually get up to 120 frames a second, and, wouldn't you know it, Fallout 4, which is probably worth a look, I'd say, though there is talk of a patch coming out later in 2023 which will turn it into a native series game, similar to what Bethesda did with Skyrim for its anniversary edition. The differences, the improvements I have outlined, are more noticeable in some games than others, but let me know in the comments if you're interested in seeing me examine other upgraded Xbox games. But why bother, you might be asking? Why bother when Fallout 3 could look and play so well on a modern PC with all its unofficial patches and mods? Well, I did buy Fallout 3 on the PC when it was released in 2008. Here's a picture of my copy. Anyone remember Microsoft's Games for Windows Live service? Yeah, it's closed now, which means there are, unfortunately, 8 achievements on my Games for Windows Live version of Fallout 3 that I've never obtained. And never will. Oh well, today I have Fallout 3 on Steam. At max settings with some visual mods installed, it does look really good on PC, as you can see from this footage. But sometimes, after working at my desk all day, I want to play in the evening sitting on the couch. Collecting Xbox achievements is also fun. That's where the Xbox Series X comes in. To the video and still shot comparisons. So far I have been running gameplay video from each console as I've been rambling on, but now I'll show you some simple comparison video and still shots. Due to video compression from capture, editing and YouTube, the footage you will see will not look identical to what I see when I play Fallout 3 on my consoles. However, I hope the differences are large enough for you to notice them. Let me know how well this comparison worked for you. The still shot comparisons are provided to show you improvements in graphics quality with each generation of console. I have sometimes added shots from my PC version for comparison. There are 2x still shots from the Canterbury Commons area just for comparison. There's 2x zoom still shots of shopping trolleys. It easily highlights the resolution and post-processing improvements Fallout 3 received over time. Sorry, the PC version is a bit misaligned. As I said, I've had no common save with the PC. For the Oasis, the still comparison of Harold/Bob in the Oasis highlights the graphics improvements made by the Xbox One X enhancement patch. Most video and stills labelled as Xbox One, One X or Series X were captured using the Xbox console's own capture function, set to 4K standard dynamic range. Note, as described earlier, the graphics quality of still shots from the Xbox One X should be, and is for me, the same as for the Xbox Series X. The Series X just provides a noticeable improvement in frame rate, which I hope you can see in some of the clips. On this Rivet City bridge run around a good way to demonstrate the smoothness of the Xbox Series X's high frame rate.
Please, water.
I imagine I confused the hell out of the beggar during all my running around. The side-by-side FPS comparisons at the end of this video were all captured via my video capture device. It's 1080p in lossless quality, saved on OBS Studio. I did it the same for all of them just to keep them consistent. This final footage is a 3-way comparison of entering Megaton. It is between the Xbox 360 console, the Xbox One in backwards compatibility, and Xbox One X enhanced modes. All three run at max of 30 frames per second. A good way to appreciate the difference in graphics quality is to keep an eye on the sign in the distance for Moriarty's Saloon. Also note the cleaner lines of poles and cables against the skyline. I only included one of these FPS comparison videos as the tool used to generate it, Teardrop, is very useful but also requires a lot of trial by error to get the FPS trace correct. As such, though I am confident that the FPS differences you see are true, I cannot be certain of the absolute values. An important takeaway is that the Xbox One in backwards compatibility mode, which was reported to smooth out Fallout 3 compared to the original 360, actually struggled the most in this example, which is curious. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for sharing with me this exploration of an awesome game. I had a ton of fun making this video and learned a bunch about video editing and game capture as I went along. Could I ask you to please like the video? That would be great, I'd appreciate that. The next game, Deep Look, I plan to make is actually for Skyrim. I want to look at the differences of the different versions of Skyrim, and not just the graphics, but what the features are there that some versions of the game have that others don't. Just some of the strange differences between them. So I encourage you to subscribe and have a look at my previous Skyrim sizzle reels, which you'll find on my channel, and I'll see you back in a couple of weeks. All the best. Cheers. Ramnexus out.